quadratic expression is that of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. And a few minutes ago, we looked at factoring if a is equal to 1, right? So we did problems just where we were factoring things like this, right? And that's not nearly as difficult because then you only look at the c term, right? And you look for factors of the c term that add up to the b term. Okay, not as difficult. What gets more difficult though is when a does not equal 1. Okay, so on the handout, we are looking at D, E, and F. All right, obviously here, A is equal to 2, A is equal to 2 here as well, and in letter F, A is equal to 5. The first thing I might look at is, could I factor some constant out of each one of these expressions? Like, could I take a 2 out of every term? If I can, then I should be able to. However, that doesn't work for any of these three. All right, so we have to figure out how to factor this into two binomials. And there's two different methods that we're going to be looking at: the guess and check method or the AC method. Okay, so let's start with the guess and check. And what you do with the guess and check is you have to look at factors of A and then also factors of C. Okay, and this is negative, meaning when I say the factors are 5 and 3, well, it could be -5 and +3, or it could be +5 and -3. So I'm also going to have to play around with my signs a little bit. Looking at the 7, I kind of feel like I won't use the factors 15 and 1, but they're possibilities. All right, and then I just guess and check. So I put the 2 with, so 2 and x, if I multiply those back together, I get 2x squared. Okay, so I know it has to start with a 2x and an x. Okay, what I don't know then is, does the 3 go here and the 5 go here? Or should I put the 5 in the parentheses with the 2x and put the 3 over here? And then one sign's going to be positive, one sign's going to be negative. So I'm going to have to fiddle with these signs. Do I put a plus here? Do I put a minus here, or vice versa? So I'm thinking that I'm not using the 15 and 1, but there's still possibilities. All right, and then I just have to check. Okay, so I've listed out all of the possibilities. So the guess and check method is not horrible when the A term only has 2 factors and the B term only has, 2 pairs of possible factors. Imagine my last number was 36, right? Which has tons of possible different factors, and then I'd have tons of different things to check. So that would not be so fun. Now, when I come here, this is 10, this is 3. When I go like this is 6x, this is 5x. I mean, that would give me, if I take the difference between 6x and 5x, I get 1x, right? So this one looks promising, right? Coming up here, 3x, 10x, like, yes, I can get 7x out of that. So I need a positive 7x, which means I would need my 10x to be the positive and the 3 to be the negative. Okay, so I found this without a huge amount of effort. Personally, I don't like the guess and check method, right? I don't want to just kind of be stabbing around and trying different things and getting frustrated. I like a method that's going to be procedural. I follow these steps, this procedure, and I'm going to get the answer that I need. So the AC method does that for me. So personally, I prefer the AC method. So what you do in the AC method is you multiply the A and the C term, okay, and get -30, I'm sorry, -30. Then you list all the factors of -30. So remember that, always start with 1, because that's always a possibility. 2 and 15, And remember, one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative. So 3 and 10. 4 doesn't go in, 5 does. 5 goes in 6 times, so I've already got the 6. So if I go in order, as soon as I start to repeat, I'm done. So I know this is all the factors. Then I find the factors of negative 30 that add up to the B term. Okay, and so obviously it's this one. And then since one sign is positive and one is negative, this is my positive and this is my negative. Now, what I do is I rewrite the middle term, okay, using, instead of writing 7x, so remember, one of the rules that I gave you is that we change the appearance without changing the value of an expression. So notice if I replace 7x with its equal, right, 3x plus 10x is equal to 7x. Okay, so I have just made the expression look different, but I have kept the value, right? This has the same value as the original expression, just looks different. Then what I do is I group, all right? I factor by grouping. All right, and so I look at that first set and say, well, what could I factor out? I could factor out an x. And what am I left with? I am left with 2x plus 3. And then what can I factor out in the second part of this? And I can factor out a 5. And when I factor out a 5, I'm left with a 2x plus 3. If you don't get the same thing left in parentheses, you've done something wrong. Okay, so 2x plus 3. And then now I look at each of these expressions and say, well, what do I factor out of each one of these expressions? When I'm factoring out, or out of, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. What can I factor out of each term? Okay, a term is something between a plus sign or a minus sign. Each term has a factor of 2x plus 3. All right, so I factor out the 2x plus 3 out of each term. The first term leaves me with just an x. And in the second term, I'm left with just a 5. Oh, sorry. 5, so I would have 5 plus x. Oh, sorry. Fumbling around here. 5 plus x. Okay, and that would obviously be my final answer. All right, so let's do one more together, and then I'll have you try the middle one on your own. So let's take a look at, and maybe text box would be a little bit more efficient for me as I'm typing. So let's take a look at letter F, which is 5x squared minus 14x minus 3. Okay, so the AC method says take these two and multiply them. I get negative 15. Then I'm going to need to find factors of negative 15 that add up to negative 14. All right, if I list my factors of 15, 1 and 15, 3 and 5, that's it. All right, so I can look at this and see that I want negative 14, so I need a positive 1 and a negative 15. And then I'm going to rewrite, and it doesn't matter if I put the x first, the 1x first, or the minus 15x first. That really doesn't matter at all. I'm actually going to go like this just to show you. So this would be plus 1x minus 3. And again, I have changed the appearance, but I have not changed the value. Okay, so negative 15x plus 1x is negative 14x. So now I look at what factors out of each. I'm dividing it up like this, right? What factors out of this part of the expression? What factors out here? And I will be left with, let's see, I'll take out a 5x, leaving me with an x minus 3. And then when I come over here, what can I factor out, right? Nothing, right? You might say nothing, but I can always factor out a 1, right? And then I'm left with x minus 3. And then what factors out of each one of these expressions, each term of this expression. I keep calling it an expression when I mean a term. What factors out of each term, right? And I can factor out the x minus 3, and then I am left with the 5x plus 1. Right? And I should always double check by foiling, right? Multiply this back and make sure I get back to where I've started. So let's go back to letter E, and you try that on your own. Again, if you want to guess and check, it wouldn't be too bad to do by guess and check because the factors here are 2 and 1. The factors here are 7 and 2. Wouldn't take too much trial and error to see how to get a 3 for your middle term. Otherwise, pause the video and factor this. So if you've come back to check your work, you should have this. Okay, if you're correct, stop the video. Okay, if you struggled or didn't know what to do, then watch me go through this together. Okay, first of all, let me cover the AC method. Right, the AC method, let's see, I'll put my work down here. In the AC method, I would get negative 28. So look for factors of negative 28, 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 3 doesn't go in, 4 goes in 7 times, 5 doesn't, 6 doesn't, 7 does. I've got it, so I'm repeating, so I'm done. And I can see that I get my 3 here. So I would need this and this. Okay, so then I rewrite the middle term. Minus 4x plus 7x minus 14. Okay, I have changed the appearance, but not the value of the expression. Then I group up like this, and I look at what factors out of each term. And there, I'm saying it right now, right? A term is what comes between this plus sign. And over here, I can factor out a 2x, leaving me with x minus 2. And then over in this next term, I can factor out a 7, leaving me with x minus 2. I know if I didn't get the same thing in parentheses, something would be wrong. Then I factor out an x minus 2, and then I'm left with 2x plus 7, and then I double check my work to make sure it's right. If you were doing the guess and check method, which is fine too, and I don't want to discourage that, so again, you would just try putting a whole bunch of things in. You know you're going to have your 2x and your x, and it's probably not too hard to tell that 1 and 14 wouldn't work. So then you just play around with your 2 and your 7. So does the 2 go here and the 7 go here? Or is it the other way, which I can, I'm looking at the correct answer right here. So I know that the 7 has to go here, the 2 has to go here. Then you would say, okay, that gives me 4x, that gives me 7x. How do I get positive 3? And that would help you place your positive or negative sign. So thanks for taking the time to watch till the end, and happy